Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
After 4 hours of talks, President Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping taking strides to stabilize this critical relationship.
And I believe there are some of the most constructive and productive discussions we've had.
With the two countries clashing over a host of issues, Biden and Xi agreeing to try and solve future disagreements by picking up the phone, announcing they are reopening military-to-military communications, hoping to defuse encounters like this one. Chinese pilots last month buzzing a U.S. bomber in international airspace. Then there was that Chinese spy balloon shot down over the U.S. At the time, the Pentagon's calls to Beijing went unanswered.
That's how accidents happen, misunderstandings.
The leaders also agreeing to take steps to curb the spread of fentanyl.
It's going to save lives.
It was their first talk in over a year. The two leaders putting aside their mounting tension for smiles, strolls, and handshakes, all carefully choreographed to project a friendlier image. Inside the meeting room, ABC's Selena Wang asking Xi in Mandarin whether he trusts Biden. No response. When asked the same, does he trust President Xi, Biden telling reporters,
Trust but verify, as an old saying goes.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Nothing. Actually, nothing. Hi, everybody. Sorry. Obviously, you want the results of my endoscopy? I'm normal. Everything's fine. Doesn't explain any of my symptoms. But hey, we keep looking. We keep going. And the dentist was 6 hours in a chair. Hopefully I'm done for now. Not really. December 13th, I have to go back. All right, so there you have it. And yesterday was the big summit, the big APEC summit, APEC summit between President Joe Biden and dictator Xi, that, Donald Trump's old boyfriend. So dictator Xi came over here to, rekindle the flame of love that he has for Joe Biden, and to discuss things that are on our mind for him to fix, like fentanyl and the precursor chemicals that make fentanyl. And I guess Xi understands that he can, get into your head, and he can, become the opiate of the masses, without being an opioid. He could do it through TikTok. And that is what, the Chinese government has been doing. Listen, the fentanyl news is really, really important, I think. I think it goes a long way to show you what the priorities are of the current president versus the previous one, who liked to bitch and moan about, this and that, but never do anything about this or that. And the president that we have now, who is trying to negotiate hostage releases from Gaza, trying to stop the import of fentanyl precursor chemicals and fentanyl itself that obviously comes from China. And then you have, the other guy who, didn't want to do anything about that. He just wanted to point to, I don't know, the immigrant mother from El Salvador and say she was the mule. No, she was not the mule. The truck is the mule. The giant 18-wheelers that, do commerce every single day between us and Mexico, each and every day. Unless you want to stop commerce between Mexico and the United States. And some freaks in this audience are all for it, which is, your cross to bear. But that is how fentanyl comes into the country. And, the idea that it's made in Mexico, okay. But how are the precursor chemicals arriving in Mexico? See what I mean? So the past president didn't want to do anything about it, but this president actually does. He really does. And so yesterday, after this very, very long day where Xi came, did you see he came in a unmarked, limo? Like, what is he, Alec Baldwin? I mean, how is that happening? But yeah, he came in and Biden loves a car. He loves a car. He's a fan of the automobile and the industry. He was marveling at his beast, the cheese beast. But anyway, after this very, very long day of lots of discussions about deconfliction. Do you have any idea like what they discussed yesterday and why? Okay, so let's just real quick. Well, it's not that much. So fentanyl was high on Biden's list of things to discuss. Obviously, AI is a big problem around the world, and that China, had to be made to sit down and discuss the future of, artificial intelligence. And one of the issues that Biden, is very keen on getting, let's say, disposed of, dealt with, is whether or not, and you should think about this when next time you say Biden sucks as a president, really, because I don't see, the other one actually even asking the question, let alone understanding the question. Never mind the answer. But Biden wants to talk to Xi yesterday about not allowing artificial intelligence into the command and control line or chain of command, however you want to think about it, for nuclear weapons. Think about that for a brief moment. Yeah, you never did. And, thank God we have a president of the United States who did. Because can you imagine? I mean, this would be like the apocalyptic movie of the century if, Open the Pod Bay Doors, Hal, became Launch. You know what I'm saying? So there was that. And then, obviously, there's a big thing about China going broke, and having like massive unemployment of their youth. Okay, like 25% of the young people in China are unemployed, which is not good for Xi. Xi has become, the I alone can fix it guy, right? And so it's so interesting because Biden was asked whether or not he thinks Xi, after, because they get along. They get along great. They don't particularly agree with each other on just about anything, but they do get along, and that's good because that means that they can discuss on an intellectual high level of, authority and understanding the issues that confront two global competitors, to the point where yesterday Xi was saying, hey, the earth is large enough for two superpowers to get along. We need to get along, which was nice, right? And Biden was saying, hey, look, we need to discuss, the fact that you're, going broke over here, and that's not a good thing for you. And, the only way we can help is if, you're agreeable to, military communications. Wait, what? Yeah, deconfliction was a huge conversation. Why don't we have talk between Xi and Biden when it comes to mistakes in the South China Sea, meaning ships hitting ships, a ship hitting an American ship and a Chinese ship, touching each other in the Philippines? Like, why? Because of Nancy Pelosi. Wait, what? Yeah. I don't know if you understand this, but Nancy Pelosi a while ago went to Taiwan. And this peeved Xi so badly that he said, screw you, I'm not going to use the deconfliction line, which is a line that is used between military powers in the world to say, oops, bumped into you, hey, sorry. So that you can deconflict, so that you don't get a conflict out of what was an oops, or what was a mistake, or what was an unintended movement, or an unintended, we flew really close to your airplane, and, you got stuck in our wake, whatever. So Xi agreed that he would open the deconfliction line. And also another thing that Biden wanted to discuss was that China does not meddle in Taiwan's election because, China is a communist country that doesn't have elections. Taiwan does have elections, and they're having one next month, or not next month. Next month would be December, January. And so Biden was looking to get Xi to say he would not meddle in the Taiwanese elections, and I don't think they got that agreement, but we'll know soon enough. So there was plenty to discuss between the two leaders. And by the way, the balloon thing, that's already been discussed, because you may not remember that Biden and Xi actually talked about the balloon thing when the balloon thing happened. So I don't know why people are bringing up old news when there was so much good news, new news yesterday that was made. And then after this very, very long day, Biden had a press conference last night and was able to talk to us about fentanyl.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
I'm pleased to announce that after many years of being on hold, we are restarting cooperation between the United States and PRC on counter-narcotics. In 2019, you may remember, China took action to greatly reduce the amount of fentanyl shipped directly from China to the United States. But in the years since that time, the challenge has evolved from finished fentanyl to fentanyl chemical ingredients and pill presses, which are being shipped without control. And by the way, some of these pills are being inserted in other drugs like cocaine. A lot of people are dying. More people in the United States between the ages of 18 and 49 die from fentanyl than from guns, car accidents, or any other cause, period. So today, with this new understanding, we're taking action to significantly reduce the flow of precursor chemicals and pill presses from China to the Western Hemisphere. It's going to save lives, and I appreciate President Xi's commitment on this issue. President Xi and I tasked our teams to maintain a policy and law enforcement coordination going forward to make sure it works.
I mean, have you ever heard anybody discuss the issue of fentanyl in a deeper, more meaningful, let's get to the root of the problem way? No, you haven't. Because this is a really good president that we have on our hands now. This is a president who really cares deeply about what is killing the American people. This is a president who actually gives a damn. And we didn't have that. We haven't had that in a really stinking long time. We've had people who are just, in it to win it. And when they lose, they say they won it anyway. We have people who are on trial. We have people who are, in 4 different jurisdictions charged with 91 felonies and still running for the presidency. Still running for the presidency. We have judges that let, people who are on trial for insurrection against our country, who are on trial for stealing or trying to steal voting machines to manipulate, the public opinion about what happened in the 2020 election. Witnesses are being threatened, and nothing ever happens. They all get away with it. They're just threatening. They're still threatening, Ruby Freeman. Yeah, there's a story in the homework today about, how Fani Willis has asked for one of the defendants to lose his freedom, to actually have his bail revoked because his condition of his bail was that he not threaten witnesses. I don't think that's too much to ask. And yet he does that. This is a guy who, the guy who's the only one who went to jail pending trial because he had a previous conviction for hitting a police officer. And they finally got that sorted out, right? And now he's out on bond. And the condition of his bond is that he doesn't threaten witnesses. And here he is threatening witnesses. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's so out of control. And what we have in America, not just the fentanyl thing, which China has tried to control people by making them, into zombies, American zombies, human zombies, the Walking Dead. You've seen it. I've seen it. It's freaking frightening. People that you knew, people you thought you knew, they're not there anymore. Just their skin is there, but there's no one at home. There's no one inside. I mean, obviously, otherwise innocent people are like beating up their girlfriends and like robbing things to get money to buy fentanyl. It's very sick and sad, but this is the first time I've ever heard an American president deal with an issue like, the only other drug I ever heard, we had a war on drugs. How'd that turn out? Everything that we were at war against now is legal. Okay. Except for this one drug, this one really good one. I think Gen Z needs this drug. I don't know. I can't explain why they are so malleable and gullible, except that this is the first generation that has grown up with online behavior. Do you know what I mean? Like they've had the internet, they've had social media their entire lives, which is very interesting because now you can see the result. And I'm sitting here wondering, is it the Chinese influence in fentanyl? Is it the Chinese influence on TikTok? Is it, what is making Gen Z say things like Osama Bin Laden was right? What did I just say? Yes. Gen Z thinks Osama Bin Laden was right. And I'm trying to figure out, is this the result of drugs? Is this the result of social media? Is this the result of the people in offices holding power in this country, like House members and senators threatening to, fight each other? You know, Mark Wayne Mullen. Remember the other day we played you the clip of Mark Wayne Mullen threatening Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters rep, he's president of the Teamsters. Remember that? Turns out that Mark Wayne Mullen decided that was a really good fundraising thing for him. So now he's like on all the right-wing shows. And he's actually doubling down on his claim to be, ¿Quién es más violent? Mark Wayne Mullen says he is the most violent of them all because he said he will bite you. No, I'm not kidding. So like our expression of bite me, it used to be funny. No, he actually means it. He says he will bite you. He will bite you, and he won't tell you where because nothing's off limits for him. So if you ever end up a witness in front of the Senate committee that he's on, wear a cup. Because he's actually telegraphing to a ridiculous amount of people in this country that think violence is the answer for everything, that he bites.
Even if you lose a fight, you want to make sure the other guy will never want to fight you ever again, because it's kind of a win-win at that point. But we need to move from an almost
fight. By the way, I'm not afraid of biting. I will bite.
Biting?
I'll bite 100%. Yeah. I mean, a fight, I'm going to bite. I'll do anything. I mean, I'm not above it. And I don't care where I bite, by the way. It just is going to be a bite. I'm
not even going to ask any further questions on that. I think that basically speaks for itself.
They're going to start hurling feces at each other. I mean, it's just... It's an amazing thing. He went on the right-wing lunatic fringe tour and said a whole bunch of stuff that was all violent-based like this. Like, I'll bite. I won't even say where I'll bite. You know, he was previously an MMA fighter. This is where he gets his, his inclinations. I don't know how else to say it. His inclinations to violence. So I'm wondering, for the kids now, is it because people in leadership are actually visible on their social media feeds saying that I bite, I will bite you in the nads, I will bite you in, I don't want you to think I'm above it. No, nobody ever thought you were above biting somebody. Nobody ever thought, you didn't even need to put it into words, okay? People think that you are below that. They always have, they always will. I mean, this is unbelievable to me. And then he says, it's because of where I'm from.
I think any other response kind of would have been a little gutless.
I would agree with that. I mean, what did people want me to do? If I didn't do that, people in Oklahoma would be pretty upset at me. That's not how we raise. I'm supposed to represent Oklahoma values.
Oklahoma values. Somebody's going to have to define that for me because I'm not clear. Does it mean violence?
I'd love somebody from Oklahoma to call in and corroborate that's Oklahoma values.
These are Oklahoma values. I don't know. I thought it was kind of Sermon on the Mount, in Oklahoma, but I could be wrong. It could be a different book that you read. The Satanic Verses. I don't know what you read. I have no idea. But he says it's the Oklahoma way. The Oklahoma way is Fight Club, apparently. And you bring Fight Club to it should be, beneath the dignity of members of Congress, Fight Club. But I guess it isn't. I mean, it's unbelievable. So is this what's affecting the kids? Is this it? Or is it school shooter drills? Trying to figure out. Because when I play you next, it's going to freak you out.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Seriously, are there any actual Senate rules that if two consenting adults want to duke it out? I mean, we had a United States congressman pull a tooth on the House floor once. There's no rules about that. Could you guys go bare knuckle if you wanted to?
Well, we looked into the rules, and you used to be able to cane. You got to remember President Andrew Jackson challenged 9 guys to a duel and won 9 times. In a White House dinner one time, a guy was mouthing him at the end of the table. Jackson jumped up, literally ran across the table, and knocked the guy out. And so, at the end of the day, there is precedence for it if that's what someone wants to do.
The biggest fear a parent has when they send their kid off to school for the very first time is that they will get that call that their kid is a biter. And now we have a United States senator who thinks it's okay to, punch him in the face. It's okay to bite people. He won't even, say not even in the private parts. He'll go for it. I mean, this is what he's all about, because the people of Oklahoma encourage that kind of violence. I don't know. He said, I'll bite 100% in a fight. I'm going to bite. I'll do anything. I'm not above it. Nobody ever thought for a second that you were. But this is what they're talking about now. So I'm trying to figure out what is the problem with Gen Z. Is it because of drugs? Is it because of drills, live shooter drills their whole lives? Is it because we elect people of such low quality that they sit in the House of Representatives and they call people, they say people are operating Jewish space lasers, and then in the Senate, the most august body in the history of bodies, we have biters now, and they're just like seconds away from throwing feces at each other. Is it the talk of people being vermin? Is it that kind of, phraseology? Is it that we had, and Gen Z probably only knows a president who said, punch him in the face, carry him out on a stretcher? I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Is that what it is? Or is it the Tide Pods? I mean, I'm trying to hone in on it. Oh, maybe it's just the TikTok. Maybe it's just TikTok. Why do I say that? Okay, I got to tell you, this shocked me. This made me like spit up. I mean, it was almost like projectile vomiting watching this. This was really hard to take. This was really, you know why? Because you have to understand that we failed. Okay, if this is what kids think now, what I'm about to show you, then we have failed miserably as an entire generation, maybe even more than one generation. I mean, it could be boomers, and it could be millennials, and it could be X. It could be three. It could be 3 generations of abject failure if Z actually thinks that Osama bin Laden is a heroic figure. What? Yes, I mean, so here's what, obviously I've been paying attention to. The hashtagging and the trending stuff, I don't even post anymore because, God forbid I should post, the things that I discuss with you on a platform like the Twitter, where everything is, manipulated algorithmically to steer people who hate Jews my way, right? And who the hell needs that? Not me. So, but when you see the hashtag Hitler was right, not just appearing, but trending on October 7th. And then shortly thereafter, you see death to Muslims as a hashtag trending, right? Although they could just use hashtag Trump was right. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I don't even want to be a part of that. I don't even want to, participate. But now I see TikTokers are enthralled with Osama bin Laden. And one of the things that he wrote down, now you have to remember that Osama bin Laden wrote down a lot of things, a lot of freaking crap. I don't even, about the caliphate and, that there needs to be an Islamic, world, not country, world. He came from the most Islamic country, the Holy Land of Mecca and Medina, and he was thrown out of Saudi Arabia as a billionaire's child, okay? Osama bin Laden comes from a very privileged family, the bin Laden Construction Company family. And he was kicked out of Saudi Arabia because he was threatening the Saudi form of government for not being Islamic enough. And this is a society where, when he was saying this, women couldn't go out on the street by themselves and they couldn't drive cars. This is what he was about. This is why America was attacked. We were the great infidel. He wanted every single person that was not Sunni, by the way, Sunni Muslim. So Iranians need not apply either because they're Shia, you know that. But he was saying that anybody that doesn't take Sunni Islam seriously, anybody that's an infidel, anybody that's an atheist, so leave a billion people of in China out, right? Leave a billion Muslims out because not all of them are Sunni. Anyway, he wanted them all removed from this planet. He wanted everybody killed, everybody. This was one of the most prolific mass murderers in the history of the world. And this is what I see on TikTok.
This morning I read Letter to America, which is Osama bin Laden's letter to America explaining why he attacked Americans. And I am ashamed to say that I not only have never read this letter, but I didn't even know this letter existed. It's wild, and everyone should read it. If you haven't read it yet, read it. However, be forewarned that this has left me very disillusioned, and I feel the same exact way I felt when I was deconstructing Christianity. I feel a little bit just confused, like I have entered into another timeline. What is this? And yeah, so go read it.
So I just read A Letter to America, and I will never look at life the same. I will never look at this country the same. Please read it. And if you have read it, let me know if you are also going through an existential crisis in this very moment, because in the last 20 minutes, my entire viewpoint on the entire life I have believed and I have lived has changed. Please read that entire letter.
I need everyone to stop what they're doing right now and go read. It's literally 2 pages. Go read A Letter to America. And please come back here and just let me know what you think, because I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now, and a lot of people are. So I just need someone else to be feeling this too.
I need you to stop what you're doing and go read A Letter to America. It is literally the craziest thing I've read in a while. And while I can't say that I'm that surprised, I am pretty shocked. So go read it and tell me what you think, because I really also need to talk to other people about this. And actually, before you even read the letter, I did want to mention, in reading the letter, I could only think of this tweet that I saw the other day. Under settler colonialism, any kind of resistance is branded as terrorist because the only acceptable violence is violence by the occupier.
Okay, we never occupied Saudi Arabia. We never occupied Sudan, where he also lived. We never occupied Afghanistan, where he also functioned as a mass murdering terrorist. What are these freaking kids talking about? I need to know.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
So this is f***ing insane. I just read Osama Bin Laden's letter to America, which I will be going through right here, but it's actually so mind-f***ing to me that terrorism has been sold as this idea to the American people, and honestly just so many Western inhabitants within certain nations, that this group of people, this random group of people, just suddenly wakes up one day and just f***ing hates you, just wants you dead, wants you gone, and this is all because they believe that they're better than us. Like, that is the root of terrorism. It doesn't make sense. They just hate your f***ing nation. But reading this letter, it becomes apparent to me that the actions of 9/11 and those acts committed against the USA and its people were all just the buildup of our government failing other nations. Because I thought that I had quite a lot of media literacy, but this takes it to a whole nother f***ing level where I was just like, holy shit, like propaganda is genuinely so deeply embedded into our f***ing DNA.
Read A Letter to America. You're probably waking up. You probably have a lot of questions. Welcome to the club. But we don't have a lot of time to sit and talk about everything because there's still so many puzzle pieces that we just do not know about.
Go read A Letter to America. Like, seriously, go read it. Type A Letter to America in Google or whatever you use, then come right back. Because this makes a lot more sense. It explains so much, and I guarantee you it's going to blow your mind. And let's talk about it. So go read it, come back. Whew, it's a lot. It's a lot.
What happened?
Video came off just a little early.
A lot early. You should have seen her face. She was like almost in tears, this girl. I mean, literally almost in tears. And you know what's very interesting? This Osama Bin Laden was right thing. This is what the state media in China is actually putting out now, too. So it's so, I don't know, coincidental that TikTok, which is a Chinese company, is promoting Osama bin Laden and his correctness in his terrorism against America at the same time that Chinese state media is saying the same thing to the people in China who have no free press. Isn't that just so coincidental? I don't, there's no other explanation except coincidence. Right. they love Osama. Now, what was the girl who couldn't stop cursing? What was her dealio? She was sitting there saying that she was taught that the only reason why Osama bin Laden organized many terrorist attacks, not just the one she knows about on September 11th. That's the one she knows about, which should be enough. It really should. It was it went on for hours. Airplanes making U-turns in the sky, America not knowing what to do because there were civilians on those airplanes, flying into the World Trade Center, taking out 3,000, just literally changing the skyline of New York City, slamming into the Pentagon, and then, of course, the fourth airplane, which was going to crash into Capitol Hill, but was stopped by the Let's Roll guy, right? Stopped by the people on that plane because they knew what had happened. They had called, when they saw the news, and their loved ones were telling them, oh, my God, New York was just hit, Washington was just, Pentagon was just hit, you guys were, well, we just made a U-turn and blah, 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 and we're headed back to what? Okay. This is the only one they know about. They don't know about the USS Cole. They don't know about the bombing of the American embassies in Kenya or Tanzania. They don't know about Osama bin Laden when he lived in Sudan, literally attacking, American, quarters there. No, they don't know anything about him. They don't know anything about it. And they certainly don't know what Al-Qaeda is. They don't know that Al-Qaeda banned music, that Al-Qaeda literally forced girls, 9-year-old girls to marry 55-year-old men. Sharia law being what it is, women have absolutely no value. They have no purpose. They have no rights. They have nothing in Osama bin Laden's version of Islam, in his madrasa-taught, uber, ultra-Orthodox version of Islam, a version most people who are practitioners of the faith don't subscribe to. It's kind of like Orthodox Jewry too, okay? Most people do not subscribe to it. I will say, in the West Bank, those settlers, they're ultra-Orthodox, okay? It's kind of the same verve, vigor, zest, and zeal to get rid of the person or the people you think are your opponents in your religious quest that is shared by ultra whatever around the world.
Yeah, there's nothing more convincing than a pseudo-intellectual 19-year-old dropping F-bombs about something they have no idea about. And honestly, it sounds to me like they got rapid-fire brainwashed by one of the most despicable murderers in the world.
So this is what I'm saying. What is it? Is it TikTok? Is it fentanyl? Is it the school shooter drills? Is it the quality of representatives that we have now that are threatening to bite each other or throw feces at each other or slam the other one's head or to punch him in the face or whatever it is? Is it eating Tide Pods? Is it TikTok? I don't know what is causing them to fall madly in love with terrorists, but it is a thing. We've been talking about it since they fell in love with Hamas. Well, we don't love Hamas. We feel bad for the Palestinians. The Palestinians had a chance. If, like I said, we went through the numbers. There's 2.5 million Palestinians, and there's about 20 to 40,000 Hamas military operatives and, political operatives. So if you have 2.5 million of you and 40,000 of them, you're telling me, and if Osama bin Laden was so concerned with the, predicament, that is the predicament of Muslims around the world. Why, when he was kicked out of Saudi Arabia and went to Sudan, didn't he invest in Sudan? The guy is a billionaire. You understand that? The Bin Laden Construction Company, he started the Bin Laden Construction Company anew in Sudan and didn't build anything. How come all these terrorists that you love build nothing? They build nothing. They break things. They bomb things. They blow things up. You have the blind sheikh try to blow up the World Trade Center in 1993. I mean, this is all part of the same thing. And now, if you want to know how women, fared under Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, unofficial figures, and you can't really get the suicide numbers out of, Afghanistan because it's un-Islamic to commit suicide. Okay, it is. It's un-Christian too, and it's also non-Torah-like to take your own life. Okay, so this is something we share, right? So But there is a mental health crisis going on with the women in Afghanistan. Their dreams, I mean, they had dreams for about 20 years that were actually able to be dreamed with the likelihood that they could happen for them. Go to school, be a doctor. That was possible when the United States was there, okay? Stopping the selling off of 9-year-olds to 55-year-old men because the family has no money for bread. Well, that's all back. The women had opportunity for a little while, about 20 years there, okay? And Osama bin Laden tells you that the women and the children who are being unjustly killed did better with Al-Qaeda in charge or the Taliban in charge than they did when, America was there. I was not for going to Afghanistan in a warlike posture, period, end of story. I just did not think that that was the way to address any of this. And it obviously was not. But for the few years that we were able to, expand opportunities there, we did. We did. Now we're out of there, all opportunities. And globally, twice as many men die by suicide than women, except in Afghanistan. Except in places where Sharia law is a thing. Women have absolutely, and these are all girls. I mean, I was watching, there's one guy in there, I think. But these were all girls sitting there, and pretty much girls of color just falling in love with a freaking mass murderer. I don't understand, like, how it is possible that the kids, that are growing up now don't know anything about 9/11. I mean, it's like, I get that it happened 20-some years ago, but that's not so long ago. What is it that made cursing girls say that, well, she was saying, he was right, and it changed her world to understand that. And that guy, the one guy, I think it was a guy, said, the colonizers. What the colonizers? We have not we did not occupy any of the places. Yes, warlike. I'll buy that. America likes war. It's crazy. It's real sick. But we're not talking about, they're talking about colonization and stuff. That's why even the most rabid right-wing warmongers in the United States, like the Bush family, etc., that constantly advocate for war, okay, and do it. Actually pull the trigger on it. They always say, we're not going to occupy. We don't want to stay. We're not into nation building. Because we don't want to be settlers or colonial.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Overnight, violent clashes in the nation's capital. 150 demonstrators demanding a ceasefire in Gaza.
Ceasefire now!
Protesting outside the Democratic Party's headquarters in Washington, coming face to face with Capitol Police. Several lawmakers were inside the building as the protests erupted, quickly evacuated to safety. Police cutting off access to nearby offices on Capitol Hill.
And a heavy police presence here near Capitol Hill. House buildings on lockdown as police got those members of Congress who were inside of the DNC out.
Congressman Brad Sherman was meeting with Democrats inside the building when police suddenly rushed in.
A dozen or so very well-armed police officers came charging in, and they whisked us off to the U.S. Capitol.
Sherman is a staunch supporter of Israel and has rejected the calls for a ceasefire.
Why were we retreating? We were in the right. This was our building. We were holding our conference.
Outside, police pushing back the crowd of protesters. Officials say 6 officers were injured, ranging from minor cuts to being pepper sprayed and punched.
All we wanted to say is that our demand is that President Biden and Congress demand a ceasefire now. And so we came out here to tell them. We did not expect the hostility we got.
And one group behind last night's demonstration says 90 protesters were injured. And of course, this came just one day after that major peaceful protest on the National Mall in support of Israel.
I mean, what is going on? What is with the violence, everybody? I honestly do not get that, why people are saying violence is the answer. Violence is the way. Violence is how we should, comport ourselves. This is what we need to do. They tried to, stop Congress from certifying the election and, they went to jail. But you know what? They were right to be violent. Is this the conclusion? I don't understand it. I honestly don't. Peaceful protesters now hitting police officers. It's so bad. And as far as what's going on over there, first of all, the war that's going on over there is because Israel was attacked by a terrorist group of 2,500 Hamas terrorists. Who did everything from paraglide in over the wall to cut the fence to going into peaceful kibbutzes where people were sleeping and cut off body parts of children in front of their parents, burn children alive, take hostages of elderly and 6-month-old, children, and then hide them in a tunnel underneath a hospital. And this is what, our kids are rooting for, the terrorists underneath the hospital. I mean, by the way, we have a president who is very concerned with getting the hostages back. And there is nothing to talk to me about until we get hostages back, because those people did nothing. They did nothing. They were peaceful people who never believed in war, ever. Their entire lives were lived as peace activists on those kibbutzim, okay? That is what they practiced. That's what they taught their children. They taught their children that life is everything. Live well, live happy, go to the concert, go dance until sunrise. That's the culture there. On the other side is a culture of death. Kill the infidels, kill this one, kill that one, spread the caliphate. Anybody who doesn't believe like we do, they must die. And this is what Osama Bin Laden wrote, just so you know. These attacks, meaning the ones he perpetrated on us, terrorist attacks, took the skin off the American wolf, and they have been left standing in their filthy, naked reality. The whole world awoke from its sleep, and the Muslims realized the importance of the belief of loving and for the sake of Allah. They purge everyone that's not, part of our belief system. Purge everyone. Kill the infidel and enjoy killing the infidel. And, never tell anybody that you're thinking. This is another thing Osama bin Laden wrote. He wrote, fear God, try to please him, and do not consult with anyone regarding the killing of these unbelievers. Dude. This is who you're worshiping on TikTok? This is who you say, oh, it all became so clear for me. All of a sudden I realized that killing is the way. Killing anybody that disagrees with me must be killed. I just, for the life of me, I'm scared. I'm scared that our kids, don't learn recent history, let alone American history. And instead, they're learning off of Chinese social media websites. That Osama bin Laden was correct. He was right to hate America. He was right. He had every reason to hate America. He had every reason to not consult with anybody because he hates for Allah. He hates for God. See, this is, why there's so much information about the things he said? It's because they were the first ones to radicalize young kids online to come join Al-Qaeda. These are people that literally talk to mothers and tell mothers that their young sons ought to strap on vests and die. They ought to blow themselves up in suicide bombings, okay? And they need to do it today, and they will get paid. The moms will get paid, and they will be treated in the community as martyrs' mothers. It's like Hitler stuff, okay? It's like Hitler and the Nazi moms, have all these babies for the cause. Amazing. Amazing. Some of them, honestly, some of these people. I mean, the amount of times that Hitler was right was retweeted. The amount of times that people are posting, that we should kill all the Jews. We should kill more of the. Do you want to just keep this number in mind, will you? There are 15 million Jews worldwide. Worldwide. There are 1 billion Muslims. What are you so freaked out about Jews for? Go build your beautiful place, okay? First of all, you got land near the Mediterranean in Libya. You got land near the Mediterranean in Tunisia. You've got gorgeous, gorgeous Mediterranean beaches in the Palestinian territory. And the only thing you can think of making is suicide vests and tunnels. The only thing you want to spend your money on is revenge and death. What do you think is going to come of that? I honestly, how this gets sold to people is just, it's always been a mystery wrapped inside of a riddle, shoved inside of a enigma. But honestly, I think people are so full of self-loathing. People are so full of despair. People are looking for answers and they're not getting any answers. People are either in positions of power and lying to them, or people are in positions of power and feeding them propaganda on purpose. On purpose. This is how you radicalize an entire population of young people. This is exactly how it happens. This is what it looks like. This is how it happens. And the result is never, ever going to be a good one. It's never going to be a result of prosperity. It's never going to be a result of happiness or joy or laughter or intellectual, endeavors. No, it's a dead end to suicide. It never turns out well, ever, when violence is your cause. When violence is used. Why do you think the civil rights movement actually succeeded? Why? Yes, that's right, because it was nonviolent. Because people would take the beating, okay? And people looked at the people taking the beating and said, I want to be like that. I wish I could be more like that. I want to be as brave as he was. I want to be as brave as she was. That's why people succeed. Inspiration, admiration, bravery, courage. Not death, not killing things, not dying, not worshiping terrorism.
I watched it on TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Look, I have been deeply involved in moving on the hostage negotiation. And I don't want to get ahead of myself here because I don't know what's happened in the last 4 hours, but we've gotten great cooperation from the Qataris. I've spoken with them as well a number of times. I think the pause and that the Israelis have agreed to, it's down to, I'm getting too much detail. I know, Mr. Secretary, I'm going to stop. But I am mildly hopeful. I'm mildly hopeful. With regard to when is this going to stop, I think it's going to stop when Hamas no longer maintains the capacity to murder and abuse and just do horrific things to the Israelis. And they still think that, at least as of this morning, they still thought they could. I guess the best way for me to say it is that I take a look. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, acknowledges they have an obligation to use as much caution as they can in going after their targets. It's not like they're rushing to the hospital, knocking down doors and, pulling people aside and shooting people indiscriminately. But Hamas, as I said they plan on attacking Israelis again. And this is a terrible dilemma. So what do you do? I think that Israel is also taking risks themselves about their folks being killed and one-to-one going through these hospital rooms, hospital halls. But one thing has been established is that Hamas does have headquarters, weapons, materiel below this hospital, and I suspect others. But how long it's going to last, I don't know. Look, I made it clear to the Israelis that to Bibi and to his war cabinet that I think the only ultimate answer here is a two-state solution that's real. We got to get to the point where there is an ability to be able to even talk without worrying about whether or not we're just dealing with, they're dealing with Hamas that's going to engage in the same activities they did over the past, on the 7th. So but I can't tell, I'm not a fortune teller, I can't tell you how long it's going to last. But I can tell you, I don't think it ultimately ends until there's a two-state solution. I made it clear to the Israelis, I think it's a big mistake for them to think they're going to occupy Gaza and maintain Gaza. I don't think that works. And so I think you're going to see efforts to bring along, well, I shouldn't go into any more because that's been things I've been negotiating with Arab countries and others about what the next steps are.
I mean, we have a president who actually gives a damn about what's going on. We have a president that actually gives a damn about getting the hostages out. I think Biden cares more about getting the hostages back than Netanyahu does. I could tell you this right now, Netanyahu is going to be protested yet again once this is over by the IDF, by the Israeli Defense Forces, for failure, for abject failure. Netanyahu's cooked. He's done. And, bye-bye. See ya. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. And Hamas needs to be done. Like I've been telling you for almost a month and a half now, what you have there are two of the worst forms of government you could possibly dream up. You have a narcissistic, feloniously, aggrieved Prime Minister of Israel, who obviously on his watch, when he was selling himself as the only, I alone can keep you safe, right? This was his calling card. That's why he's who he is. That is what he told the Israeli people. He had 5 elections. Only I can keep you safe. And he failed miserably. And the feeling in Israel right now is not for him. The feeling in Israel right now is that he is a bumbling, dastardly, non-trustworthy person. They don't want him as the prime minister. There was a question about whether or not the guard, whether or not they would show up because they were protesting him when this happened for 9 months. There is no love between Israelis. Now, he did have some support from the right wing, the ultra right wing party called Likud, which you should view as, MAGA. Even they're peeling off. I mean, they say if elections were held in Israel today, he would maybe, retain 19 of the 40-something seats he has. I mean, they say he would lose miserably. Nobody believes that he is capable. Nobody believes that he cares about the hostages. Nobody thinks he cares about anything but himself. And showing, people that it wasn't his fault that they were brutally attacked and that, he's going to avenge this somehow. Nobody believes that about him. And the other partner that you have in this mess is a terrorist organization, legitly a terrorist organization. And people are literally saying on social media that they question whether or not there are tunnels underneath the hospital, tunnels underneath the schools, tunnels underneath, people's civilian housing. Really? You have a question about that? Why is it so hard for you to not listen? You could Google Osama Bin Laden and find, his letter to America, but you can't Google whether Hamas has tunnels. You can't find the maps of the tunnels that were reported out by the New York Times. In 2008, there were tours of the tunnels. 2015, Amnesty International, which is beloved by these young kids, right? This is the gold standard. They wrote this scathing thing about in 2014 how Hamas was torturing and killing their own people in the tunnels and in the hospital. In the hospital. The operation had a name. It was called Strangling Necks. It was a mission that Hamas went on to abduct, to torture, and summarily kill Palestinians, their own people. Yeah, Hamas did that. And they went into the hospitals and in the orthopedic ward, okay, in the orthopedic section of Al-Shifa Hospital, Hamas went in there and they broke people. I mean, literally broke them. Like one of the things in the Amnesty International report, one of the descriptions of what happened to people that Hamas felt were insufficiently loyal to Hamas was that they were like bags of flesh, meaning every bone in their body had been crushed, every single bone in their body, and they were shoved into these bags, and the bags were really heavy because they were full of crushed bone and flesh. That's what they did. These are killers. That's who Hamas is.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. All right, Josh in Wisconsin.
Hey, Randi, how you doing?
Good.
So you've been spot on, I think, since October 6th, honestly, all the way back to like 2000 in the election with Al Gore. But I think there's one aspect that you're missing with this TikTok stuff. I work for a digital marketing agency. I actually run a company in Madison, and I can target people by their demographics. I can do race, I can do age, parents, non-parents, school, whatever. I think that's what's happening is the algorithms are targeting these people. What I noticed was all the videos you showed looked like young black women, right?
Well, there were a couple of white. There was a white guy, or I don't know what he was, and a white girl. Obviously, a very white girl at the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing on my social media, which I think we can both agree is a sewer, is that it's mostly my African American friends who are the most anti-Semitic. I'm seeing the most anger coming from them. I'm seeing the most like pro-Hamas stuff, the most pro or anti-Israel stuff. And I think really history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. This seems very similar to 2016 and 2020 when certain areas and certain demographics were being targeted with misinformation. So I think it's happening organically. So they don't even realize that their news feeds are entirely filled with things that are supposed to influence them. It's just a giant psyop. And they've been doing it, since as long as social media has existed.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell people that, the idea that China's state-run media and TikTok are both promoting this Osama Bin Laden love fest. I mean, that's not a coincidence. It just isn't.
Right. But there is a racial component. I think what you've said the entire way is that what they're trying to do is drive a wedge between the traditional Democratic base.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So black people, black young women especially, which delivered, the election for Uncle Joe, and then the Jewish Americans too, and then all these traditional things. And if you splinter the Democratic base, who does that leave in place? It's Mango Mussolini, right? So they're doing it. It's a lot like, I smell, I don't want to pin this on Karl Rove, but the idea is you take someone's greatest strength and you turn it against them.
Yeah.
So what you do is you take the strength of the Democratic Party, which is this massive coalition of everybody, and you start splintering it. That's what they're doing. It's a giant psyop to do that. And they did that in 2016 with Bernie and Hillary. They did that in 2020. They did that with BLM. It's a lot simpler than that. All they're doing is they're trying to split the base.
Right. Right. I don't think I missed that. I think
I didn't hear a racial component when you mentioned it.
Well,
but
I haven't been doing it in a racial way. What I've been saying, though, is that if there's no home for Jewish voters, if there's no home for black voters in the Democratic Party, then they're going to be voting for a guy who literally hates that they exist.
Right, exactly. And one other thing I wanted to mention, too, what I'm afraid of is this entire generation lived, I guess they were born really after 9/11. And what they saw was George Bush go in and attack a country that never attacked us and do everything to do that. This certainly, I think, rhymes with that. What I'm worried about is that Bibi is going to use this as an excuse to take the West Bank, to kick out all the Palestinians and do the same kind of thing that George Bush did, use that opportunity, use, the attack on the country as an opportunity to steal. They're creating chaos so they can steal things like the West Bank.
I think I've said that too, that Netanyahu has, engaged in something that should be, like such a blunder in the face of all of this. And that is going into the West Bank and continually taking land from people who are living there. But this is the ultra-Orthodox Likud party members who are doing that in a time like this. It is so bad. It is so bad for him. It's so bad for and the amount of anti-Semitism that that kind of activity is reaping upon me to the point where I don't go on social media anymore because I don't need to hear from intellectual lightweights about what a blight on humanity I am. I just don't need to defend myself in that manner anymore. But when I look at tens of thousands of times, 46,000 posts saying hashtag Hitler was right, I know it's time to not, engage right now. But you're right about the West Bank. I mean, and I've been trying to educate people on, the difference between the West Bank and Gaza and how they're two different governments and they're two different situations. Bibi is in charge of both of them. And he's doing a really piss-poor job of convincing people that he's got the moral high ground when he continues to do what he's doing in the West Bank.
Right. And he certainly doesn't have to. And that's the thing. I want to say that his hands are clean, but like the U.S.,
his hands are not clean.
Are not clean. Right. They've never been clean. They haven't. I mean, look at the history of that country. Right. Look at what they did. I mean, what the U.S. did at least with Iraq and Iran and everything else. Like we've screwed the Middle East, and now we're reaping the whirlwind.
Well, no, we haven't screwed the Middle East, and we're not reaping anything. This is not our war. This is Israel's war with Hamas. Okay, that's number one. Number two, look, this is the problem when you have people who are in enormous positions of power, like the presidency, who lie. That is the problem. If you have a guy who's lying about, a Muslim ban and the need for it, or if you have a guy who lies about, caravans being, set up by Jews, by George Soros, he's sending in caravans, right? And then you have a guy before him who lied about WMD and used that as an excuse to start a war in Iraq, a country that did nothing to us, right? Then nobody trusts anything that comes out of our government ever. And so then when you have people who are trustworthy, and I believe Joe Biden is a man of his word, people just doubt it. They doubt it. Oh, it's a deep state thing. No, it's not. It's a liar thing. And when you elect liars, you get liars.
Right, but it's not just that. I think, too, it's part of, I wanted to bring in some Republican information, too. I mean, when I know about gerrymandering, I know about undermining the educational system. This whole thing has been by design. They're trying to make it so the younger culture doesn't know any critical thinking, can't trust their media, doesn't know what the truth is. And when they don't, they'll believe anything that you tell them. They're drinking the same.
I know, but the older people do it too because they go, I'll find my own information. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. They're doing their own research.
Yeah, they do their own research, right. So you got older people who do, I'll do my own research about Dr. Fauci and ivermectin, right? And then they end up, in the ICU and they go, oh, why did I listen to, these people? But, young people are doing it too. This is
I totally get it.
It's all a function of social media. It's all listen, this is what we learned in 2016, I thought, was that the idea of politics on social media, and having listen, if we try to do what China is doing in the United States, if we try to do what Russia did in Russia, we'd be blocked. We'd be banned. There's no way.
Right.
Russia doesn't let that happen in Russia, and China doesn't let that happen in China. But the United States is like, yeah, come pick off our youth. Go ahead, take our kids.
Sure, but I'm telling you honestly, Randy, if you give somebody enough money, all they need is a Facebook account or a Twitter account. They can target anybody they want. I can target somebody within a block of their house.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying that's because we just don't have any sort of rules of the road that say once you enter into violence or, hate speech. That's it.
100%.
I love it too. No, seriously, and we don't. And this is, people look at Russia, they look at Viktor Orban's Hungary, they look at China, they don't have this kind of that's because they don't have our kind of freedom.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Elon Musk called an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that Jews promote hatred against whites the actual truth. Musk posted agreement with the false claim that Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Musk has been criticized before for trafficking in anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracy theories, and some influential figures have left X to protest the proliferation of unfiltered hate speech on the platform. Now, in later posts overnight, Musk appeared to backtrack from his earlier remark, saying Jewish genocide is unacceptable to any reasonable person, and hatred of white people does not extend to all Jewish communities.
What?
But then he took aim at the Anti-Defamation League, which he said unjustly attacks the majority of the West and promotes anti-white racism. We reached out to a representative for Musk who did not immediately respond this morning, but White House National Security spokesman told John Kirby told George, somebody like Musk, the world's richest person behind Tesla and X, somebody like that stoking anti-Semitism is reprehensible and unacceptable.
I don't even get it. So what this is one of those I've never heard. Okay, this is one of those conspiracy theories. I mean, I thought all of them about Jews. I thought, but now wait, it's Jews hate white people. I'm pasty white. I couldn't be any whiter. We're Eastern European I'm lost. I don't understand the hate anymore. The hate is so convoluted. It is so twisted. It is such a Rubik's Cube of hatred. I can't even figure out who hates who and why. I don't know. Have you ever heard that one?
No, this is new to me. Thanks, Elon.
So you never heard that Jews hate white people?
I've got some Jewish friends, and I've been around Jewish community quite.
Wait a minute, you didn't just play the I have Jewish friend card.
I did. I've got.
You have a Jewish friend.
I have a few
How many years have I known you? Have I ever pulled that card? Ever?
No, but I'm pulling it now just to say that I've never heard any of them express any hatred like Elon is describing right now. And I just want to put in, he is the perfect modern day Bond villain. I could see Bond like trying to attack his stronghold, getting attacked by AI drones and bots.
And the screen has to be like that.
He's a total Bond villain.
It's like Batman, though, like where the villain is always like, they would twist the frame and make it seem evil that way. It's just, I don't know. They're making crap up now about hatred. You really don't have to make up that much about hatred. There's a lot of hatred to go around. Can't you just play in the sandbox you were given? Why do you have to invent new hatreds? I don't even understand this one. I really don't. All right. John in New York.
Hey, Randy. How are you?
Good.
You're talking about social media and everything and how it's disturbing our youth.
It's perverting everybody. It's been like this for really a long time. I mean,
it's only been for like 20 years, really, since the smartphone and social media. But there should be a blackout. We should have, in September, a social media blackout. And then we'll see. It's like a drug. It's a drug to these kids. You would watch. I mean, it would be hard, but at least it would send the message through.
Well, I would like to tell these kids that Osama Bin Laden, literally banned things like phones and music. Do you remember those pictures that we saw of Osama Bin Laden when he was first in Afghanistan? And, obviously, he literally took, this is how old it is, he took cassette tapes and took all the tape out of them and flung them around like, electrical poles and fences because music was outlawed. Do you really think that he would be pro TikTok?
Dear, did you ever hear of, it's as silly as the Mandela effect. It's like we're living in a different parallel. These kids are living in a different environment, the algorithm is completely different for these kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it is strange. It's a weird thing. But you know what? It's not that weird when you consider that this is exactly how terrorist organizations have always recruited. Since there was YouTube, since there was social media, since there was Facebook, since there was MySpace.
So let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate Social Media Blackout Day.
Yeah,
We'll have a damn party. It's better than Christmas. We'll give out presents.
Well, who does it? Who pulls the plug? See, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yes, but if we do it, it has to be. It has to be. You have to see the difference. The kids have to see it. That's the only way. You take an alcoholic off of alcohol. How do you do it?
Well, hopefully they go to a meeting. But you're going to have.
Oh, the meetings. Okay, then let's do meetings. And we'll generate meetings. I guess awareness meetings. I don't know, but these kids.
No, listen, I understand what you're saying. I understand it intellectually. I understand it in practice. I just don't understand who would pull the plug. Who would be the one to take away the social media, to unwind it? I will say that Nikki Haley the other day, she was talking about, TikTok, right? She everybody understands something really evil and bad is going on with these social media outlets that are from foreign governments that have a desire to infiltrate the American mind. Whether it was in 2015 on Facebook with the targeted marketing that we just had a conversation with our friend in Wisconsin about, or now with a Chinese government that is, TikTok, that is ByteDance. It's a Chinese company. They claim that they're not interfering in anybody's business. I mean, it's so obvious what's going on, right? So Nikki Haley actually had the temerity to say, and by the way, her approval ratings have increased exponentially from that last debate. So next time somebody says, well, why are they having these debates if Trump doesn't show up? It's because there are other people that each time they're on the stage, their popularity is affected. Like Vivek, he's like non-viable anymore. Christie has gone up, and Nikki Haley has gone from nowhere to 20% of the Republican Party thinking about voting for her after the last appearance. Also, I think it has something to do with this, and that is her position on social media. She said that if people had to put their real names on their accounts, and show up, like when I post, I'm Randi Rhodes, I make no bones about it. If I post in my own chat room, okay, it says Randi Rhodes Show, it's me. If I post on Twitter, okay, it's me. If I post on Facebook, it's me, okay? So she's saying that if people had to put their names with their posts, it would get rid of a lot of bot activity from China, a lot of bot activity from Russia, a lot of bot activity from various interlopers in our business of self-governance. And people push back on her like she had suggested that people give up their religion. I bet you it would be easier to give up your religion than it would to give up your social media anonymity. Seriously. That she proposed a couple of things. That was one of them. And the other thing she suggested was that that they reveal their algorithms, right? That TikTok and Facebook and anybody else that's doing, like our friend in Wisconsin, he knows what he can accomplish with online marketing. He's probably using something called SEO, okay, which, and tagging things and, choosing audiences. But he's not probably writing his own algorithms. I'm just guessing. I don't know his business. I don't know which, advertising agency is his, whatever. I can't afford any of them, so how the hell would I know? But I'm pretty sure that they're not going to divulge, if they had one, an algorithm that they wrote or that they have that they can deploy to attract a certain demo. They just request a certain audience for their post. And the algorithm takes care of it on whatever service they're using for their client. I'm guessing. So what Nikki Haley was saying was that the algorithm itself, the one that targets, should actually be made public so that MIT graduates and, other people who understand, what it takes to write an algorithm, what is it that the algorithm is doing? And she said if you made the algorithms public and they would show us why they're doing what they're doing and who's doing what it is that's being done, it would go a long way to clear up the mystery. of who's controlling what and why. And, I didn't disagree with her because I don't know enough about it to disagree with her, and I don't know enough about it to agree with her. But I will tell you, the pushback she got, as if she was suggesting everyone surrender your right to free speech, was kind of interesting. People cannot have any conversation about their social media. They just want it. They want it the way they get it. They don't want to know about it. They don't want to know that somebody's influencing. I mean, when Osama Bin Laden becomes an influencer on TikTok, you got some problems with TikTok. When Facebook was able to mine not just my friends, but my friends' friends, and give it and sell it to Cambridge Analytica for the purpose of using it in an election, you got problems. We've had this for longer than you think.